God is dead. With these stark, provocative words, Friedrich Nietzsche announced the collapse of an ancient, all-encompassing worldview. A declaration that signaled not the triumph of nihilism, but the opening of a transformative chapter in which humanity is called upon to create its own values in the void left by the disintegration of inherited certainties. At this pivotal moment of moral dissolution and existential possibility, Nietzsche looked back to the ancient Greeks, a civilization that dared to confront the extremes of human existence and embrace its inherent contradictions. In the rich tapestry of Greek mythology, two archetypal forces stand as symbols of the complete human experience: Dionysus, the god of wine, ecstasy, and the irrational, and the sun god, most commonly associated with Apollo, the personification of order, reason, and illuminating light. Dionysus represents the wild, untamed forces that surge beneath the surface of everyday life. As the god of wine and ecstatic revelry, he embodies an elemental chaos, a force that shatters the confines of rigid rationality and awakens the passionate, instinctual dimensions of the human soul. In the rituals and festivals held in his honor, the Greeks found a means to experience life in its rawest form, a state in which the barriers between self and nature dissolved and individual identity merged with the collective pulse of existence. For Nietzsche, the Dionysian impulse is a profound affirmation of life. It calls us to accept that life is not merely a series of controlled, orderly events, but a vibrant, dynamic interplay of forces, where joy, sorrow, beauty, and terror coexist in a delicate, ever-shifting balance. The ecstasy of Dionysian experience lies in its ability to break through the confines of everyday thought, exposing us to the hidden energies that animate the world. It invites us to experience a state of being where the mundane is transcended and every moment is charged with the potential for rebirth. Embracing Dionysus is not an endorsement of unbridled indulgence or reckless abandon. Rather, it is an invitation to tap into the wellspring of creativity and passion that lies dormant within each of us. By surrendering to the Dionysian, we unlock a transformative power, a force that encourages us to confront our deepest fears, to celebrate our vulnerabilities, and to recognize that even in our moments of despair, there is a fierce and radiant energy waiting to burst forth into life. In striking contrast to the wild exuberance of Dionysus stands the figure of the sun god, traditionally identified with Apollo. The sun god embodies the Apollonian qualities of clarity, order, and disciplined beauty. Just as the sun's light dispels darkness and reveals the world in its true form, Apollo's influence brings structure and harmony to the chaotic realm of existence. His domain is that of art, music, and thoughtful reflection, the aspects of life that demand precision and balance. Apollo represents the rational, measured side of human nature. His energy is concerned with imposing form on the formless, capturing fleeting moments of beauty and timeless expressions. The Apollonian impulse is the creative drive that pushes us to transform raw emotion into art, to articulate our innermost thoughts, and to mold the chaos of existence into patterns that can be admired and understood. It is the spirit of symmetry, proportion, and measured grace, a necessary counterbalance to the overwhelming force of the Dionysian. Nietzsche saw the genius of ancient Greek culture and its ability to blend these two forces into a harmonious whole. Life, in its fullest sense, is not defined solely by order or chaos, reason or passion, but by the dynamic interplay between them. The ancient Greeks recognized that the human spirit thrives when it can embrace both the wild, spontaneous outbursts of emotion and the disciplined, luminous order of reason. Their art, drama, and philosophy emerged from this very tension, creating works that continue to resonate with us today. It is in this synthesis that the richest possibilities for human expression and creativity are found. The legacy of the Dionysian and the Apollonian is a powerful reminder that our destiny is not to be confined by narrow definitions of happiness or order. Instead, it is to allow every facet of our being to flourish, to dance with chaos and structure alike. In doing so, we do not merely survive, we transform the fabric of our lives into something extraordinary, something that reflects the infinite potential of human creativity. For many, tragedy conjures images of sorrow, loss, and inevitable despair. Yet Nietzsche challenges us to view tragedy not as a harbinger of pessimism, but as a profound affirmation of life's complexity. In the timeless dramas of ancient Greece, tragedy was not a morbid fixation on suffering, but a celebration of life in its entirety, its beauty, its pain, its triumphs, and its inevitable defeats. Greek tragedy, as embodied in the works of Aeschylus, Sophocles, and Euripides, offers us a mirror to our own existence. In these plays, the tragic hero confronts the inescapable forces of fate and the frailties of human nature. Their struggles, marked by both grandeur and vulnerability, illuminate the paradox that to live is to be exposed to both joy and sorrow. The catharsis experienced by audiences, far from being a descent into despair, is a process of emotional purification, a journey that leads to a deeper understanding of what it means to be human. Nietzsche argued that the experience of tragedy enriches our lives by compelling us to acknowledge the full range of human emotion. Rather than seeking a simplistic state of happiness, we are invited to embrace the multitude of experiences that define our existence. It is through our encounters with loss, failure, and suffering that we come to appreciate the moments of beauty, love, and creative expression. Tragedy teaches us that life's value is not measured by the absence of hardship, but by the resilience and growth that emerge from overcoming it. This perspective stands in stark contrast to the modern fixation on the pursuit of happiness as the sole measure of a well-lived life. While happiness is undoubtedly desirable, Nietzsche reminds us that reducing life to a mere chase for pleasure is to ignore its profound potential. True fulfillment lies in the willingness to engage with every aspect of our experience, to allow ourselves to be transformed by both light and shadow. In this sense, tragedy is a powerful catalyst for growth, pushing us to discover strengths we never knew we possessed and to forge meaning even in the midst of loss. While Nietzsche is often remembered for his critique of established moral doctrines, his ultimate project is one of revaluation, a call to reclaim our capacity for self-creation and to celebrate the infinite possibilities of life. Rather than clinging to inherited beliefs that restrict our natural impulses, Nietzsche invites us to examine which values truly foster human flourishing and which might be discarded in favor of a more expansive, life-affirming ethic. This revaluation is not an outright dismissal of tradition. Many of the ancient moral frameworks, including those found in various religious and cultural narratives, have provided comfort and guidance for generations. Yet, Nietzsche urges us to discern whether these values encourage the blossoming of our potential or whether they impose limitations that keep us from fully engaging with the world. His critique is less an attack on belief itself and more a challenge to continuously question and refine the values by which we live. In this light, life is not about clinging to a narrow pursuit of happiness, an often fleeting and superficial goal, but about exploring the vast, multifaceted potential that lies within each of us. True fulfillment emerges when we open ourselves to the full spectrum of experience, allowing every setback, every struggle, and every triumph to contribute to the magnificent unfolding of our existence. It is the constant process of becoming, a dynamic interplay of creation, destruction, and renewal, that defines a life well lived. Nietzsche argues that morality is not a universal truth, but a construct born from human power struggles. In his view, the moral systems we inherit are not timeless, objective laws handed down from a divine source. They are historical artifacts forged in the crucible of human conflict and ambition. At the heart of Nietzsche's critique lies the distinction between master morality and slave morality. Master morality originates from the strong, the creative individuals who define their own values. It is characterized by virtues such as pride, strength, and assertiveness, which reflect a life-affirming attitude and the will to power. Those who subscribe to master morality view their own excellence and unique qualities as the benchmark for what is good, valuing traits that enable them to thrive and shape their environment. In contrast, slave morality emerges as a reaction from the weak, those who, lacking the power to assert themselves, develop a set of values that invert the master's standards. Slave morality prizes humility, obedience, and altruism, not out of an inherent nobility, but as a means to undermine and control the exceptional, ensuring that the strong do not disrupt the status quo. This reactive moral framework becomes a tool for the powerless to claim moral superiority by condemning the very qualities that enable greatness. Nietzsche contends that what is often presented as universal morality is in fact a blend of these competing perspectives. The so-called universal ethical systems, such as those advanced by Kant and other traditional thinkers, can be seen as an amalgamation of slave morality. They impose a rigid, abstract set of rules under the guise of impartiality, masking deeper power dynamics that favor conformity over individual expression. In doing so, these moral codes tend to suppress the creative, self-affirming impulses inherent in master morality, while elevating values that ensure social stability and control. By exposing morality as a byproduct of power struggles, Nietzsche invites us to question the legitimacy of the values we have long accepted. He challenges the notion that moral truths are immutable or divinely ordained, arguing instead that they are continuously reshaped by the dynamic interplay between the strong and the weak. This critical stance encourages a revaluation of values rather than passively accepting inherited norms. We are urged to examine which aspects of our moral heritage truly foster human flourishing and which serve merely to maintain existing power structures. Embracing Nietzsche's perspective means recognizing that moral systems are not discovered but invented. They are contingent upon historical and social conditions and can be deconstructed and reconstructed as circumstances evolve. In this light, the traditional dichotomy of right and wrong loses its absolute character, opening the door to a more fluid and life-affirming ethical framework, one that honors the full spectrum of human potential. Nietzsche's reimagining of morality is a call to cultivate an ethic that celebrates individuality, creativity, and the inherent complexities of life. It is an invitation to transcend the limitations imposed by conventional moral systems and to develop a personal set of values that reflect the vibrant, ever-changing nature of existence. By doing so, we move away from the notion of morality as an external, unyielding force and toward an understanding of ethics as a dynamic, empowering process, a process that encourages us to harness our inner strengths and to shape our own destinies. In sum, Nietzsche's view compels us to see that morality, rather than being a set of universal truths, is a contested terrain, a product of human power struggles in which master morality and slave morality vie for dominance. Recognizing this, we must remain vigilant against the seductive appeal of traditional moral dogmas that may conceal underlying mechanisms of control. Instead, we are called to engage in a constant revaluation of our values, ensuring that our ethical framework not only resists oppressive forces, but also nurtures the creative and transformative potential within each of us. By questioning and reconstructing our moral beliefs, we open ourselves to the possibility of a richer, more authentic existence, one that embraces the full complexity of life, celebrates individuality, and fosters the boundless expression of human creativity. Among Nietzsche's most provocative ideas is the theory of eternal recurrence, a concept that challenges us to imagine that every moment of our lives will repeat themselves infinitely. This is not merely a metaphysical hypothesis about the nature of time, but an existential test. If you were destined to live the same life over and over in every detail, would you embrace it with joy and affirmation? Eternal recurrence posits that the universe, with all its events, cycles through an endless loop. Every joy, every sorrow, every triumph, and every failure recurs infinitely in precisely the same way. Nietzsche presents this notion as a thought experiment, a means to evaluate the quality and authenticity of our lives. It asks us to consider whether we are living in such a way that we would gladly relive every moment for eternity. This idea, radical in its implications, serves as both a challenge and an invitation. On the one hand, eternal recurrence confronts us with the weight of our actions and decisions. It forces us to reflect deeply on our lives, urging us to ask, are we living in accordance with our highest values? Are we embracing the fullness of our existence, or are we merely drifting through life in a state of complacency? On the other hand, the theory of eternal recurrence is a call to affirm life in all its complexity. To affirm eternal recurrence is to accept every aspect of our existence, its joys, sorrows, successes, and failures, as indispensable parts of our unique journey. It is to live so wholeheartedly that the thought of reliving the same life eternally fills us not with dread, but with exuberant affirmation. Eternal recurrence is not intended as a literal scientific claim, but as a means of reorienting our perspective on life. It challenges us to reject a life of mere comfort or superficial pleasure and to embrace a way of living that is daring, authentic, and deeply creative. In this light, each moment becomes a precious opportunity, a chance to express our individuality, to overcome obstacles, and to create meaning that resonates across time. By adopting the mindset of eternal recurrence, we are compelled to live with urgency and purpose. We are urged to see our lives as works of art, where every choice, every passion, and every struggle contributes to an ever-unfolding masterpiece. It is an invitation to transform the mundane into the extraordinary, to find beauty in the repetition of life, and to realize that the very possibility of an infinite recurrence gives our lives a weight and significance beyond the transient. Nietzsche's eternal recurrence thus stands as a radical call to live fully, to seize the potential of every moment, and to affirm life, no matter how challenging it may be. It is a call to embrace the eternal cycle of creation and destruction, joy and sorrow, and to understand that our ultimate freedom lies in the acceptance of our fate as an endless tapestry of experiences. Standing at the threshold of a new era, we are reminded that life is not about chasing a narrow definition of happiness or adhering to rigid moral codes. Instead, it is about embracing the full spectrum of our existence, celebrating our unique individuality, and daring to live as if every moment were to repeat for eternity. In doing so, we not only reclaim the power to shape our own destiny, but also contribute to a future defined by limitless possibility and vibrant, transformative energy. May we all find the courage to let our inner light shine, to allow the beauty of our multifaceted nature to blossom fully, and to live lives that are as rich, unpredictable, and magnificent as the universe itself.